Today, I want to talk to you about FIRE. No, not that kind of fire, this kind of FIRE, which stands for Financial Independence Retire Early. For those of you who may be new to investing or you might be researching your retirement plans, you may not have heard of the FIRE movement. FIRE movement is really a fascinating way to think about your life, your work, and your financial goals. When I learned about it, it's what really inspired me and sparked my whole financial journey. The values of it really aligned with what I believed in. I saw it and I thought, wow, this is pretty much what I'm already doing. I don't spend a lot of money, I don't waste money, I like to earn more money and save and invest. And I love the idea of being financially free and being able to retire whenever I want to. I think FIRE is perhaps one of the most important lessons we could learn and something we should really learn in schools. So I think this is going to be super valuable to anyone who's interested in investing and is thinking about their long-term goals. In this video, I'm going to explain to you what FIRE is and exactly how it works. And by the end of it, hopefully you'll have your own target and goal that you're working towards. So what exactly is FIRE and how does it work? Well, the traditional model of life goes something like this. You finish school or college, you get a job, you work, you take home your pay, and you pay into your pension. And when you hit retirement age, which is currently 65 in the UK and 66 in the US, which, let's face it, by the time people in their 20s hit retirement age, it's likely going to be much higher. You hit that age, you retire, and you live out your days doing exactly what you want to. But what if we thought of it all a little differently? So let's picture this. Say you know you need 25,000 to survive each year. You could times that number by 25 to work out exactly how much you need to survive each and every year. So for that, you need 625,000. So what if, instead of living life like it's supposed to be, you treated life like a video game? You hit that target number and you complete, ready to move on to the next level in your life. And to me, that all sounds much more appealing. Now you might ask, why 25 times the amount and why 625,000? Well, if you had that much invested and you took 4% a year, that would give you 25,000 income without ever having to touch your 625,000. So you still keep that capital amount. And if you wrap all of those investments within a Roth IRA or an ISA in the UK, you can have all of that income tax-free. So if we assume we're going to get 7% a year from the S&P 500 or the FTSE, that gives us an extra 3% a year to account for inflation, which is very important. You have to bear in mind that your money now isn't going to be worth as much in the future. Who doesn't love inflation, eh? It's going to be important to realise there's going to be good and bad years, so we're just taking average figures. And of course, there's going to be other ways to withdraw. You could take money out from your capital, which would last you X years, but I much prefer the idea where you keep the capital and you just take the interest. So to get your FIRE target, work out how much it's going to cost for you to live each year. Now that includes your housing, your rates, your expenses, your travel, etc. and times that by 25. Hopefully by then you'll have a house paid off, which will bring your target much lower down. So you might ask, how much do I need to save? So let's take a look at the maths, which is actually quite important here. So the figures I've showed you so far is how much you would need to have today. So let's say once you retire, you want 25,000 a year to live on. Now this is where we really need to take into account inflation. So just remember, each year as inflation rises, money becomes worth less and less each year, so your money just doesn't go as far. Hopefully with this does come an increase in wages, so don't worry too much. It might seem scary, but just think back to what our parents paid and our grandparents paid and think that wasn't a lot of money, but actually it's all relative to salaries. So say you want to retire in 20 years time with an average inflation of 3%. 25,000 a year in 20 years time will be the equivalent of 45,152. So timesing that by 25, our FIRE target would be 1.12 million. Now to achieve this, starting with zero today, you would need to save $1,700 a month and adjust that 3% for inflation each and every year to hit that target. So every year your 1,700 you're going to need to increase by 3%, which seems an awful lot of money, but we are starting with zero. So if you've got some savings to start with, that's going to make the whole process a lot quicker. And of course, the longer you invest for, the easier it becomes. So as an example, let's take a look at 30 years. So unfortunately, with inflation again, the equivalent of 25,000 will be 60,683, which makes our FIRE target, again, times by 25, 1.5 million. And you might think, wow, that's an awful lot of money. But if you started with zero today, you would actually only need to save $900 a month, which again is a lot of money, but in comparison to 1,700, 900 is a massive leap down. And again, you need to adjust that 900 each year for inflation, so you need to increase the amount you're contributing each month. Now there's a couple of things that could really speed this up. The first, which sounds obvious, is you just save more money. The second is you could get much better returns than 7%, which I've been able to achieve most years, and it is doable if you've got some knowledge about what you're doing. Third is inflation might not rise as high as we expect. It might not be 3% average over the years, it may be a much lower average, which would be fantastic, because your goal isn't going to be so far away. And of course, the last one is just having money to start with. If you've got money in your account, it's going to snowball and compound much quicker. I'll share with you guys in a later video my plan, how much I've got and how much I'm saving on a regular basis. And also, I'll leave links down below to the calculators that I've used in this video so you can take a look and work out your own figures. Now let's discuss, is this achievable for everybody? Now I have to say, the majority of people within the FIRE community are some of the most intelligent, down-to-earth and hard-working people I've ever seen. They generally want to live a simple life, save money to have the freedom to live the life they want, not be tied down to any job or have to do anything in particular. Now if you take a look at most of the people doing this, especially if you look at videos on YouTube, you're going to see in most cases you've got a couple, they've retired super early, they were both on over 100k a year, they've made a couple 100k flipping houses and it all looks fantastic, which just isn't that realistic. Now I'm not going to put bells and whistles on this and say everybody's going to do it, it's easy, it's fantastic. I'm going to be a bit more realistic. But honestly, I think anybody with a true passion for this can achieve it. But it does take drive and one hell of a lot of commitment. The majority of people I've seen do this well are a couple, so you can actually work on that target together. But even if you don't retire and live that life of freedom, actually, taking this on board and adapting it is a fantastic way to go. We've seen over the past few years how jobs aren't quite as secure as they used to be, and it does give you that security. And it also gives you that flexibility, so when you get older you can make those decisions. If you don't retire, you can actually maybe take less time off, you can go part-time, you can take more holidays, you can buy more nice things. It's such a fantastic way to think about money. So here are the key steps of FIRE that I will cover in more detail in a later video. The first is reduce spending. Cut your costs, cut out all of the things you don't need and put that into a savings account. The more you can do to save, the better. The majority of people in the FIRE community are very frugal. I'm not so much that way, but I don't like to waste money. 2 is have a side hustle. The majority of people I've seen in the FIRE community have got 2 or even 3 side hustles. They're making extra money and putting that into their retirement pot. If you've got no ideas, don't worry. I'm going to cover plenty of ways to make money, so don't worry about that. 3 is you need to invest well. You need to buy the right investments. Don't buy these crazy picks that you think are going to go to the moon. Buy safe investments that are going to give you a solid return. 4th is to live humble. So the majority of these people, when they retire, do live a very simple life. They don't live a lavish lifestyle, they just have the money to do what they need. Now you might be looking at this whole concept and thinking, hang on a minute, is this how rich people live? Well, actually it is. So just imagine you had a pot of 10 million today, you were getting that 4%, 400,000. Even if you pay tax on that, imagine the lifestyle you could live. And this is something that rich families have known for a very long time, that has been passed down through generations. Unfortunately, a lot of people like me aren't in that boat, but I think it's time for more people to get more involved with investing. And I think sadly, as time goes on, there's going to be more and more of a generational gap. People who are saving now and have a house and passing it down versus people who aren't saving any money, there's going to be such a gap between people. So it might not be what you want to think about, but by doing this, you're setting up your future generations for success. But in the meantime, let's hit that target and get you to those goals. And in the next video, I'm going to show you a concept that I think is even better than FIRE. So thanks for watching, go and get your FIRE target, and I'll see you guys in the next video.